I believe Bitcoin is going to $1 million per coin in the next few years, and in this video I'm going to explain exactly why I've come to that conclusion. Welcome back to my channel, where today we are talking about Bitcoin, and as you can see from the title, why do I expect Bitcoin to reach $1 million per coin in the next few years? I'd say certainly before the end of the decade, but say 2027, 2028, something like that in the next 5 or 6 years. To set the scene, today is the 3rd of August 2022. One Bitcoin is trading at $23,000 or thereabouts, 23,000 euros, about 19,000 pounds. So to get to $1 million from here, Bitcoin needs to do about a 50x. Now, has it done a 50x before? Of course it has, many times throughout history. Most recently, from April 2017 to April 2021, Bitcoin moved from about $1,200 to about $60,000, thereby completing a 50x move. 50x just means it's gone up 50 times the amount of the price. So the price has gone up 50 times. Now, today it's about $20,000. A 50x would take it to about $1 million. Now, I fully expect Bitcoin to reach $1 million in the next few years. I think it's quite likely. Obviously, it's not 100%, but it's likely. That is my expectation. It's certainly my prediction, hence this video. And how did I come to that conclusion? Well, let's take a look firstly at global money. Okay, it's really important to understand global money. How much money is there in the world? What's the value of all the stuff in the world? Your house, your car, the money in your bank account, your stock portfolio, your Bitcoin, your maybe own other cryptos, maybe not, probably not, hopefully not. Maybe you can own other cryptos, but it's more kind of like gambling rather than kind of really saving, I would say. So all the stuff in the world is worth around 500 trillion. That's made up of about $100 trillion worth of global stocks, 40 trillion of which are US, about 120 trillion of global bonds. So the bond market is about 120 trillion. And the real estate, property, commercial real estate, residential real estate, all the property in the world is worth about 350 trillion. So then you've got things like physical gold, you've got commodities, you've got money in your current account. All these numbers add up to global money of around $500 trillion. Now, that's a rough estimate. It could be 400, it could be 600, but call it $500 trillion, which most estimates kind of suggest. And you can check my numbers. Please do check my numbers. All my links for these kind of sources and things are in the description below. So we've got global money of about $500 trillion, and I'm expecting Bitcoin at $1 million per coin to have a market cap of 20 trillion, okay? Because 1 million times 21 million is 21 trillion. 20 trillion out of 500 trillion today is a very small drop in the ocean. And I expect it to remain a relatively small drop in the ocean, but a growing drop in the ocean. Now, here's the thing about this $500 trillion figure. That number is growing. We have these things, we have these entities called central banks. Central banks like the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, the People's Public Bank of China, PBOC, People's Bank of China, they print money, they create money. Maybe they don't print it, they print some of it. They create money, they buy assets with that money they've created. Now, this is a lot to take in. I get it. Put me on half speed if you must. But they create money, they buy assets with it, like government bonds, like mortgage-backed securities. They increase the money supply. And this chart shows that although it's a bit of a squiggly line, in the last 10 years, global assets held by central banks have increased from 13 trillion in 2012 to about 30 trillion today. You can see a bit of a dip down. That's because we're trying to tighten. That's why everything's in a mess right now. That's why the stock market's down and Bitcoin's down, etc., etc. They're probably going to have to give up on that in the next few months. We'll see. And then they're going to keep printing money. Okay, that's part of my expectation. That's part of my prediction that central banks will continue to debase their currencies or create more money. Now, when you've got $500 trillion worth of stuff in the world today, that's likely to increase. A $13 trillion to $30 trillion, went to 33, came back to 30. That's an increase of 131% over 10 years. If you do the maths and annualize that, that's an 8.7% annual growth rate on the money supply of global central banks. Now, whether or not they'll, up that and start printing or creating 12% a year or 8% a year or 7% a year, who knows exactly, right? But let's just go with that figure of about 9% a year. If we fast forward that to about 5 years, we can expect the global money, the global wealth, all the stuff in the world that's today 500 trillion to be worth more in the region of about 800 trillion. Are you following me so far? We've got global money made up of stock market, bond market, property, 500 trillion, but that number is growing. In 5 years, I expect that to be worth about 800 trillion. And Bitcoin at $1 million per coin will be worth 20 trillion. Bitcoin, $20 trillion. Global money, this is 5 years from now, 800 trillion. Does that seem like Bitcoin's taken over the world or dominated everything, or everything's dead, the dollar's dead, euro's dead, everyone's kind of Mad Max world? No, not at all. It just means that by 5 years' time, Bitcoin has achieved a 2.5% capture rate, if you like. It's taken a 2.5% stake. It's captured 2.5%, tiny little fraction of global money. Now, I don't think that's unrealistic. I don't think that's overly bullish. I think that's actually quite conservative. So, Bitcoin to $1 million. What do you think? Do you think Bitcoin could go to $1 million? Do you think I'm being too bullish? Do you think I'm being too bearish? Do you think I'm being too conservative? I think my estimate is fairly conservative. I go out in the streets, I ask people about Bitcoin, I ask them what they think the price of Bitcoin will be in 5 years' time. I've made a whole video dedicated just to that, but leave me a comment below. What do you think the price of one Bitcoin will be in 5 years' time? I'd love to read them, and I'm sure other people would love to read them as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.